Please join us in keeping Fredericksburg and Gillespie County special. Be Texas friendly. Share the road. Put litter in its place. Respect private property. And protect our dark skies. Thank you for caring about our community.
The community in Fredericksburg is growing, and we know that people choose to live here, and for very good reason. It's important that we have resources in place so that people can take care of themselves, so that our economy can keep moving, so that this community can continue to thrive. And this is our opportunity to help them stay well and stay part of the community as contributing members.
It is exciting getting ready for the big 4th of July parade here in beautiful Fredericksburg, Texas. This has become burning with the rebound.
Everyone, welcome to the Fredericksburg Chamber of Commerce.
Please on time here, 3,500. So they go to your dad.
And we had that promise again in John's Gospel.
We love living in the country.
When I think about
Husband.
Along the fairways at Lady Bird have a way of slowing time.
Hey there, well, welcome, Billy fans. This is
on September 25th, 1925.
John
when she sank
Crawford Fritch.
All right, if I could get everybody to have a seat, we'll go ahead and get started. Anybody whistle? How are you? Good, how are y'all? If everybody could find a seat, we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome to Coffee with the City Manager, a little bit smaller group this morning. So I learned something last night. We had a Fredericksburg Citizen University class last night at the Law Enforcement Center, and it was the Police Department and Municipal Court presenting. And I couldn't remember Lieutenant Selig's name. And I tell you, that's the hardest part of this. So it was suggested that I just point and everyone introduce themselves. So in terms of staff, I'm going to start with the guy that made the suggestion right here. I'll never forget your name again, Derek.
Justin Callahan, Emergency Management Coordinator.
Andrea Schmidt, Parks Department.
Chris Manazzi, Director of Public Works and Utilities.
And we have former council member, former Mayor Tom Musselman with us again today. Did I forget anyone? Who did I forget? Sharon Joseph. You popped in. I didn't even see you. Former council member Sharon Joseph. Thanks for being here this morning. Okay, so topics we're going to cover this morning. We're going to talk a little bit about the eclipse, give some information on the numbers, just talk about the crowd we saw or didn't see, getting prepared for that, why it took so long to do that, interagency coordination and so forth. I'll give an election update quickly. We'll talk give a few updates on the Parks and Rec side, and then we'll give you just a few reminders. Also talk just a little bit about a couple of PD initiatives. I've asked Lieutenant Raymer to be here this morning to do that. So I'm going to start out before Justin steps up here and gives you the eclipse update with an election update. For the first 2 days, early voting, we had about 125 people voting. That early voting continues this week, Wednesday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. through 4:30 p.m. Saturday, 8:30 to 11:30 a.m. Then again, Monday through Tuesday, 7 to 7 at the Girl Scout cabin. Does everybody know where that is? I think everybody knows where that is. Election day is May 4th. And again, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Fredericksburg Middle School Library. So get out and vote. Again, we have 2 council seats up, unopposed. That's both Emily Kirchner and Tony Klein. So they will keep their seats. Then the mayor's seat is up, and he has an opponent, Timothy Ellis Riley. So get out and vote. You have that opportunity this week, next week, and then, of course, May 4th. Right at this point, I'll turn it over to Justin again to give an eclipse recap.
That better? Oh, yep, there we go. Okay, so we had estimated that we'd probably have about 100,000 people come to Gillespie County for the eclipse. All y'all know the weather was not in our favor on that situation, or maybe it was in our favor, but we had about 51,000 people that the CVB reported came to Gillespie County. We had over 2,000 people at market plots and about 1,200 cars parked at LBJ Municipal Park. At LBJ Park, there were 46 states represented in 23 different countries. On that Monday, there was a 268% increase on Square sales, which that's the credit card company that does credit card sales, from an average Monday in April. Sean set up a PIO location there at Market Plots, and he had representatives from San Antonio, Houston, Harlingen, Dallas, Australia, Reuters, Associated Press, and the San Antonio Express represented there. So one study showed that Texas was estimating about 1 million people to come to Texas for the event, and only about 300,000 showed up. So it was pretty par across the board that the numbers were less than what we anticipated. And there was weather from Del Rio all the way to Texarkana, so a lot of those people moved further north. The airport, they had sold 73 of their 80 prepaid spots. Only 23 aircraft actually showed up for that. But what they did say is they sold more jet fuel over that time than they sold in a long time. And correct me, Bobby, if I'm wrong, but they said they sold over 15,000 gallons of jet fuel during that weekend. So a lot of jets came in, dropped people off, and then took off. So that was interesting. We did set up the Emergency Operations Center for this event. We set it up on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We had representation from Fredericksburg PD, Gillespie County SO, Fredericksburg Fire and EMS, the Texas Division of Emergency Management, RACES, which is the amateur radio operators, Texas A&M Forest Service, Fredericksburg Public Works, South Texas Regional Advisory Council, Gillespie County Communications, and a county commissioner. They were all represented there on Monday. We did briefings each day of the event with the whole community, including the hospital, TxDOT, and just a wide range of probably about 50 people each day. We did a briefing to make sure nobody needed anything and everything went off pretty smoothly. There were no significant incidents from an emergency management standpoint during the event, and the call volume for the PD and the fire departments was all about average for a busy weekend in Fredericksburg. The weather definitely hindered the amount of people that came here, but it sounds like the people that did come had a good event. There was a lot of compliments to the staff that worked out here at the park, and everybody really enjoyed the event. So I will take any questions you have about our preparation for the eclipse if you have any. All right.
Okay, thanks for the update. Bobby?
Justin, I do want to thank you and everyone else who participated for 2 years in the committee meetings. There was over 50 people in the committee that met every month getting ready for this thing. I think it went so smoothly because we prepared for it. Thank you.
We go through these emergency management exercises all the time, and they're typically only a couple of days long. This is, I joke about it, the longest emergency management exercise that we have gone through, close to 1,000 days worth. But again, the relationships that we made and the bonds that we formed with a lot of these other agencies, it just prepares us even more to deal with situations that are certainly coming, that are not planned like the eclipse. So I think we're ready for that. Everybody enjoyed the eclipse? Everybody get to see it? So it was the strangest thing, one of the coolest experiences that I've had in a long time. I thought I knew what to expect, but that's not really what I expected. It got completely dark here. I was talking to her daughter up in Lubbock, and she said, "Oh, it got pretty dark here. It got real dark here." Well, I think they were 97%, and when we were at 97%, I thought it was over. Kind of that dingy dark, and then in 30 seconds, it was just dark. So it was a really strange thing. I will say one thing about the people that visited Fredericksburg during that event. They really took care of this town. It was a different type of visitor that we saw that weekend than we typically see. License plates from everywhere. Everybody saw that. I drove through the park after couple of thousand people left, and I saw one piece of trash, and I'm not exaggerating. Just one piece of trash on the ground. Market plots, very, very similar. So thank you to everyone that visited Fredericksburg for taking care of the town. That is the type of visitor that we're interested in attracting. Those folks that are interested in Fredericksburg for the right reasons and really take care of this place. All right, just quickly, Parks and Rec updates. And I know you probably don't have a real good update on the soccer fields. Would you like me to give that? Yeah. We'll give your updates, and I'll talk about soccer a little bit.
Good morning, Andrea Schmidt, Parks Department. Just a few updates. The splash pad will be opening Friday, May 3rd. Hours will be the same as last summer, 10 to 7, Tuesday through Saturday, noon to 5 on Sunday, closed Mondays for maintenance. We are looking at maybe adjusting those hours, but that wouldn't be until next summer. Both the swimming pools will open the Saturday before Memorial Day. This is the first time we're actually not looking for more lifeguards. We have had an overwhelming response with the increase in pay, so we'd like to thank council for approving that last year. So we're excited about that. The other thing we have that's about to open is the John William Klein Room. That's the new facility at Market Square. We're going to have a dedication on Wednesday, June 5th. We're actually going to start in the History Walk Garden. We have 2 new busts that were donated, one of Admiral Nimitz and the other one of President Johnson. So we're going to unveil and dedicate those at 10 o'clock on that day and then move to the John William Klein Room for a reception, for a ribbon cutting followed by a reception. So we'd invite y'all all to come out. We're hoping that reservations will start soon so that we can start opening it up for people to use right after that dedication. We're wrapping up a few more things in the next few weeks. But if y'all have any questions, feel free to reach out to the Parks Department. Thank you.
Okay, and regarding the soccer fields, and I might ask Garrett to help me out just a little bit here. We're actually meeting with the folks that are responsible for the construction. They'll be giving an update to council probably sometime next month. But I think the parking lot is being constructed for this facility. Of course, you see the irrigation going in. They have removed all the soil, removed all the rocks. They have conditioned that soil. They'll be placing that back, planting grass, growing in through June or beginning in June, Garrett, that time frame? So late next month, early June, planting grass, and they hope to open the fields to play later this year, and of course grow in through the fall and really get underway next spring. So the city has very little investment in that property. We're going to, of course, we own the ground. We're going to participate in the construction of the parking lot, but the roughly $3 million in construction for the fields and restroom and all the facilities was all by donation. So we really appreciate that. A lot of donations to the community that are very impactful. Yes, ma'am?
Will you also address the tennis courts and the pickleball?
Well, we can talk about that just a little bit, but I will tell you that that is something that we talk about during the budget process every year, is tennis and pickleball. We understand the need is there. We're just getting into the budget process this next month. We'll, of course, adopt the budget about mid-September. So that is in our capital improvement plan. And again, it just depends on where that priority lands with the council. Now, I have heard that pickleball is starting to organize to raise some funding. And I've also heard, and I can't really get too specific about, there are individuals in the community that are interested in contributing to the construction of pickleball and tennis courts. So hopefully we'll be able to provide you a lot more information on that coming up over the next couple of months. But again, that'll be something that we talk about during the budget process this year. And we have not forgotten what we heard last year. We had planned, I think, 6 or something like that. And there was a pickleball representative that spoke at a council meeting, and the question was asked, how many do you really need? And he said, well, it's more like 16 is what we really need. So, we would rather build a project that meets the needs of that organization because we know it's a growing thing. So again, that's still on the table, but something we'll continue to discuss. Okay, as we're getting into the springtime, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just one question on the soccer fields. So when they're done, I understand that there's going to be a lot of demand for it from the soccer users. Will there be a management of such that other groups can use that grounds as well? And how will that be done through the Parks Department somehow?
Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. So right now we have an agreement with the Soccer Association for the current fields. Of course, with their condition, we don't get a lot of requests for use, but it'll be done the same way. So the Soccer Association will actually manage who uses them, and we include in the agreement that they will open it to the public, but those requests will go through the Soccer Association.
Okay, any other questions about soccer or park-related items? Okay, springtime is here. We were just looking at the thistles out the back window. So watering will begin to get very intensive as we get into the summer months. Between last coffee and this coffee, we had our presentation, I believe we had our presentation to council our state of the city's water supply with the underground water district. And we're getting back into that La Nina weather cycle. From the El Nino, which was very mild, we started getting into that late last year. We kept waiting and waiting for the rain and waiting, and I see, people shaking their head, and it never came. Now we're getting back into transitioning from the cooler, wetter El Nino to the La Nina. Less rain, a little bit more severe storms when we do get those storms. We've had a lot of hail already around the state. In fact, we just had a near miss this last week with a cell up north. So we don't know what to expect this summer, but we will be in stage 4, water conservation stage, entering the summer, likely not get out of that. That's watering 1 day per week for 4 hours during your watering day. And we have transitioned that from watering in the evening to watering in the morning, correct? Yep. From, help me out with the time, 6 to 10, and we're also going to amend the ordinance when we do get back into stage 3. So it's 6 to 10 p.m. also. So look for that change. But I've asked Chris to give just a brief update this morning on well levels and also talk about our water meter, our census water meter customer portal, which helps you manage your water better, your water budget better. If you have a leak, it helps you identify those types of things. It also helps us reach out to customers. So Chris?
Sure. So I took a look at the well levels. Again, we have 2 monitoring wells very close to both of our major sources in the Ellenberger aquifer. These monitoring wells, you can get the link and look at it yourself. It's an online link that you click on. The equipment's monitored by the Texas Water Development Board. But I took a look at both of those this morning. This is yesterday's data, but very recent, obviously. The Canalth well field, which is located about 5 miles east of the city limits, we're about 8 feet higher than we were this time last year, which is good news. But I will say that we see that well field either gain or drop quicker in response to rainfalls and how much we're pumping. So our pumpage rates are going up, which you would expect this time of year with people irrigating more and being more active in their landscape and so forth. But that is good news in that particular area of the aquifer. In the old San Antonio Road well field, which is a little bit further southeast, more south, about 2 to 3 miles south of Fredericksburg, we're about 1 foot lower than we were this time last year. So kind of flat, almost where we were this time last year. In that particular area of the aquifer, we don't see the response to our pumpage as well as rainfall events quite as quickly. So it takes a little longer for that monitoring well to really show what the conditions are in a short period of time. As far as the customer portal, I think Clinton summarized it very well. There's all the instructions. There's a link on our city's website. Essentially what that customer portal, it doesn't cost you as a utility customer anything. We're already paying for the software as part of our census analytics, but it essentially allows you to set up an account and receive alerts, whether that's text message or email alerts based on whether you want to set consumption levels or continuous consumption. So you have a small leak that hasn't surfaced, or a toilet running that you wouldn't see. It's just going into the collection system. It allows you to receive those alerts before you get that utility bill 30 days after maybe the leak started happening. So it's a very good piece of software that you can get. I know some of the customers in this room have signed up and have success stories with that customer portal. But essentially, if you go to the City of Fredericksburg's website, you can either go to the Finance Department or the City of Fredericksburg Public Works Department and click on the utility billing. If you go to the Public Works Department, it's under the Water Department, then utility billing. But under the utility billing site, kind of towards the bottom, it talks about the customer portal, gives instructions, and a link to click on as well. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. Yes, ma'am.
When you go on vacation, if you have the portal, you can sign up. If you're gone for a month or even a couple of weeks, you can sign up. As you sign up for it, note that you're on vacation and there should not be any water usage. So if there is water usage, you're notified wherever you are. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Thank you.
excuse me, the site to see the well levels, is that on the Water Development Board's website or the city's or?
Yes, ma'am. If you go to the Underground Water Conservation District's website, you can get the link from there. Or if you just go on Texas Water Development Board, you can search from their website and get it as well.
I just want to support Chris in this one. I was looking at my bill for January and going, why is it so high? And went to the Census Analytics, and it said, you've been dropping 4 to 6 gallons per hour right along here. And so I called Waterworks and got them out there, and there was a sprinkler head that had a controller that had a crack in it. So stuff happens in your water sprinkler system over time. And another thing is you have different water pressures around town. If you're lower, it may be that your water pressure is higher, and that can make a difference with older piping as well. So anyway, thanks for the system.
Appreciate that. And again, we're trying to do a lot on the city side to be responsible with our distribution system, installing tools that help our customers conserve water. Imagine if everybody has that 4 gallon an hour leak in town. It's a lot of water going to nowhere. So again, all of these things add up to the overall water conservation effort on the city side. Yes, ma'am?
We don't look at any of those. Paul Tiber or the Hill Country Underground Water Conservation District, does look at some wells throughout the whole county. But since our supplies are mainly east of town, east and southeast, those are the 2 areas of the aquifer that we're really looking for.
If you get on that Texas Water Development Board website, there's an overall map showing all of the monitoring wells across the state that water districts use to monitor groundwater. So you can get on that and take a look at wells, if there are wells west or north or south or another community, whatever the case may be. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that you were going to add 6 to 10 p.m. as an alternative to 6 to 10 a.m. Do you have any anticipation as to when that's going to take place?
Right, and again, if we go into stage 3, that would be effective. It was 5 to 9, 7 to 11, and we're trying to be consistent with that 6 to 10, 6 to 10 a.m., 6 to 10 p.m. So we'll make that change likely sometime in the next couple of months with an ordinance amendment for stage 3, 2, whatever stages that affects, change
so
that water.
Apply during stage 4. It's not you can do morning or evening.
No, sir.
Only morning.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, Ari, I know last time we were talking about, as we go into the summer, collection of the spill off, if you will, from air conditioning units like in the schools or the civic buildings. Has that been addressed at all as we go forward into the summer, collecting that water?
I'd actually mentioned as part of the Hill Country Alliance Leadership Institute class that I went through last year, we heard from an engineer that works with a firm in Austin, and they design high-rise buildings to be self-sustaining water-wise. And if you can imagine these very large buildings that have a number of large air conditioning units that generate a lot of that condensate, it's enough that they can actually recycle that, and it's just a continuous feedback loop where they don't have to be connected to a water supply even. I don't know that we have anything large enough scale to, really do anything like that here, but I will say, as we've been talking about the comprehensive plan and ordinance amendments that might come out of that, we've been talking about low flow fixtures and, all of the things. That's pretty much the standard these days when it comes to construction, whether it's a hotel, a school, any new construction. I don't think you can get a high flow, device these days. So we're going to continue, in fact, Chris even mentioned that we might start talking this year about adding water conservation specific position to city staff where that's all they do. They work with customers, they work the city side, they are the person that organizes the education component for our school system with respect to water conservation. So we're just now really starting to talk about that becoming reality, and it might be something we present to the council this year. Again, it's needed. Someone, that just has their mind and eye on that all the time, that devotes all their energy to that. So we're very interested in any kind of water savings, water generation, whatever the case may be. So thank you for that idea, and we're keeping all of those front of mind. All right, anything else on the water side? Thank you, Chris. Okay, just quickly, if we could get a microphone to Lieutenant Raymer. Still having trouble.
Morning, everybody. Everybody hear me?
Yep.
I have recently done my part on the water savings as I am gonna... Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah.
I've recently done my part on the water savings as I'm doing zero-scape in my front yard. There's something a little bit rewarding about taking your little tractor and tearing up your own yard. I've got about 30 yards of rock coming. If anybody feels like they need to experience raking a rock, I'll leave a sign-up sheet at the door. Anyways, I'm going to do some overviews on some of the community projects that we have going on. One of them that's coming up is our summer youth program that starts this summer. Alyssa, this is our what number? 30th year of doing summer youth. If y'all have children, grandchildren that want to participate, they're between the ages of 7 and 9. We're going to do it on Tuesday afternoon. 7 to 14, excuse me. 7 to 14, we're going to do it on Tuesdays, and we'll do different events, going to the park fishing, archery, swimming. We're going to Jellystone this year. We're going to another park in Bernie. So if you have some grandkids or kids that would like to participate, on our website we have a sign-up sheet for our summer youth program. Another initiative that we've been working on for community outreach is our Citizens Police Academy. We just did Citizens University last night, so I'm trying to see if there's anybody that was there. Great. It was a late night, so I didn't know. Some might have slept in. But that's kind of a quick overview for the police department. It's a short time period. We have one block to cover it. If anybody's interested in the police department, our Citizens Police Academy is a little more in depth about the police department. We break down our whole department, how we function, how we operate, where your tax dollars go, and really just an opportunity to create a relationship with the police department. If anybody's interested in that, we also have an online sign up on our website, and please participate. Please sign up there if you're interested. We just did one this spring, and we try to we're going to try to do another one in the fall if we're able to get enough applicants. And right now we're at 5 applicants. We shoot for at least 12. And then our community fund, we've talked about that a little bit. We got to talk about that a little bit last night as well at the Citizens University. We've had, over the years, we've had a number of people that are interested in donating to the police department. We've really not had a good avenue to do that, and with our community fund, we've created that opportunity, and we want to use those funds in a way that maybe is not appropriate to put in the budget. One of our biggest campaigns that we're looking at is employee housing for police employees, and that's our biggest campaign that we're using it for right now, to try to create opportunities for our employees to stay locally, move locally into Fredericksburg, to get a little more commitment to our community, to help our retention. So if anybody's interested in contributing to that, we'd certainly appreciate it. Derek, did you have anything you wanted to add to it?
Well, I think the fund is a good opportunity to provide officers the resources where they can be vested in our community. We've lost some really good officers over the years that just couldn't make it here, and they moved back closer to San Antonio. So it's a great opportunity for up and coming officers, young officers trying to make it.
I'll entertain questions.
If someone knows of a house for sale that's going to be pretty inexpensive and needs some renovation, should we contact you then to try to get an officer next door instead of a transient tenant?
Absolutely. So I'd appreciate that. In fact, our chief of police, he pretty well stays on top of that. You know, we'll go to lunch or something, and we'll drive around, look at the community, drive around the city, and he's talking about different properties that are coming up, and he's always looking at those things. So feel free to share any information.
We've had the same thing where somebody is maybe doing a long-term rental on a house, and they want a good occupant that's going to be there for a while, and it's another avenue to get that officer next door. And so we've had some that have reached out to us in that respect.
Who would we call?
Yeah, I was going to mention the long-term rental. I've used our house before we moved here to bring in 3 different good people, pastors, who, they couldn't envision how they were going to get here, where they would live, but just being able to rent for a year, then they could look around and figure out what they're going to do. And so some of this money could be going towards a long-term rental. Yes?
I don't know. Do you have?
So the primary campaign right now is to help officers with down payments and closing costs. This is one of the avenues that we're going to feel out first. We're taking surveys with our officers and different things to see who is interested in purchasing a home in Gillespie County.
Yeah.
The second avenue we're going to take, if we don't have a whole lot of bites on that, is through the rental assistance program.
Yeah, because it's getting new people in, it's that first year transition. I think anyway, here you go.
No, it's difficult, especially early on when you're young, you're starting a family, you got kids, trying to daycare. It's challenging. I mean, and we've all experienced it, and luckily mine's in college. Well, I'm still paying for it. He's in college. So I guess maybe it never ends. I don't know. But what we can do to kind of help our staff get situated and established here, want to be here for the long term, that's what we're trying to accomplish. And I guess there's no more questions. I'll wrap up by saying that I do really appreciate our community. I can't say it enough how good our community is to us with some of the things that are going on in policing and some of the issues in major cities. The support that we have in this community has been amazing, and I thank each and every one of you.
So I have just a couple of other things. Again, you think you know a lot about the police department, hanging out with these guys a lot and seeing what they do. And it's not until you get in a classroom and see all the statistics and you actually have an explanation of what everybody is actually doing and dealing with that, I learned a lot last night that I kind of knew, but I didn't exactly know. Can you talk about the certification that we went through and when we started?
Our accreditation?
Accreditation, I'm sorry. And how many departments there are in the state and how many have that accreditation?
Certainly. So I'll step back to the history of it. This is a program that we began in 2010 through the Texas Police Chiefs Association. They started this accreditation for Texas. And that was a big initiative for Paul A. Strike. He was our former chief that many of you remember. And we started in 10, and typically it takes 2 years to get this program and get into compliance. There's 173 standards that we have to meet through this accreditation process. And it took us 3 because Paul got sick in the middle of it, and he ultimately ended up passing away. So we became accredited in 2013, and as the program manager, it meant a lot to me to be able to complete his legacy as a police officer here in Fredericksburg. So what the accreditation does, as I mentioned, there's 173 standards. It addresses all the critical aspects of law enforcement, from use of force, pursuits, to the budget, our accountability for our money, accountability for our equipment. For every officer that comes on, we issue them a bunch of equipment. They have to sign for it. We inventory it when they leave. We do the same thing again to make sure we're accountable for everything that we have, that y'all's tax dollars spent money on. And ultimately what the accreditation does is it raises our department to perform to the best practices and standards established in law enforcement, so that we're providing the best possible service to our community. It also benefits you in a way that the hopes are, if we're operating at that standard, it reduces liability, less likely to get sued and cost more tax money from a lawsuit. So that's what we're trying to accomplish with it.
How many departments are there in the state, and how many
Thank you.
have the?
So I'm kind of ballparking here. I don't have the exact numbers, but I think there's 1,400 law enforcement agencies across the state, and there's a couple of hundred that have made it through accreditation. And we were really one of the early ones. I think we were around 68 or something along that lines that became accredited.
So Lieutenant Weed was also there last night, and he shared some information from the Austin Police Department, a friend of his that works in the Austin Police Department. And was it criminal investigations he was talking about per officer? And we have a number that's in the teens we're dealing with, I think. You know, number of criminal investigations right now, I think it's 18 maybe. One officer in Austin dealing with 500 per month, and they can only get to 30 or 40 of them. If there's not video evidence, some kind of very hard evidence, it's not even considered. So we're so far away from that. And I heard so many times last night, like Braxton said, you know, we're a small town with an excellent police force. We can do things that these large cities with their departments just can't do. And this is one of those things. You know, they're very transparent. They're very out in the open. One of the things that we're trying to do is get more of them on Main Street, get that presence on Main Street even greater, you know, not because there's issues there, but, you know, for that transparency. So thank y'all for last night. Thank you for being here today. You know, it's an honor to be a part of an organization that has such an excellent group of people over there. And I learn something from them every time. Braxton talks a lot. He'll talk your ear off, but if you'll listen, you'll learn a lot. So thank you again. Okay, finally, I would like for our Assistant City Manager to give a couple of updates on Food and Wine Fest, probably heard a little bit about, and also Fort Martin Scott, and anything else you want to update on.
Okay, so just a few quick updates. Good morning, everybody. So we've been discussing with the City Council and the Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber taking over the Food and Wine Fest. So at the last council meeting, an agreement was finalized. It's been fully executed. So now the Chamber is officially taking over Food and Wine Fest. The initial term of the agreement is for 5 years. As part of that, after each year's event, the council will do a performance review and continue to work with the Chamber to hopefully improve the event. A steering committee has also been formed. Councilmember Watson and Councilmember Klein are both members of that, and that is to hopefully provide some guidance and lessons learned to the Chamber from previous events. The Chamber has also hired Haley Wakefield as their professional event coordinator. She is very motivated and has already come up with some very good ideas. I think in the next week or two, you're going to start seeing a lot of advertising relating to the event. So the big announcement is the event is going to happen this year. So there will be a 2024 Food and Wine Fest. A couple dates. So there will be a dinner event on Friday, October 25th. And then there will be a full day of events on Saturday, October 25th or 26th at Marketplace. I think that's going to include potentially a run, a 5K run, a yoga session, I think. Bobby, are you going to participate? Yoga and wine. I think there's going to be a family-friendly event for kids, trying to get them involved in the culinary arts. So a lot of exciting things. A portion of the proceeds will continue to be reinvested into Marketplace. I know that was a big concern. So hopefully it's a successful event, and we will continue working with the Chamber on that. So any questions or something to add?
Just a quick comment.
Hey, where'd you come? We met with the Mark Plots Redevelopment Commission yesterday, had a real good meeting. They like what we're doing. We presented our plan to them. They're excited about it, so we should have a good relationship there. The event's going to be different than what we've had in the past, and we're really excited about it, so more details to come.
Thank you, Bob.
During the discussions before City Council, the proposals that I heard were going from a 2-day event to a 3-day event, with the project going to a 5-day event. What I understood was the city wanted to move away from trying to attract people here to drink and go to family-friendly events, other types of tourism than that. Why are we going to a 5-day alcohol event?
So that's just a possibility, and I think what the chamber is focused on is smaller kind of satellite events around town to try to highlight some of the different food and wine venues. So not having 30,000 people on market plots, just smaller events. So we've talked about higher quality visitors, smaller, not looking at numbers, looking at, higher quality events. So yet to be determined. Again, we're focused on this year's event initially, and we'll see how it goes. But that is one big emphasis of the chamber, is to try to make it more family friendly, not just coming in, people drinking a lot. And
thanks.
As Garrett said, more family friendly, also more educational. Some of the things we're thinking about for year 3 and beyond is a 5-day event, multiple venues. Some of them could be dinners at somebody's farm or at a winery, or just all kinds of things that are available. But it will not be what it's been in the past, where you go and you drink all day. And you'll still be drinking, but it'll be more controlled. The general admission is going to be somewhere in the $150 range, so it will definitely be attract a little bit different crowd. So.
So they've talked about having more of a locals, not locals only, but it's intended to be for the locals. Again, yet to be determined.
Well, I will tell you, New Braunfels, what was their big event down there, like our Oktoberfest? Wurstfest. So spoke to one of the organizers of that event, and they were having some problems with people over-serving themselves at that event. It had grown to, this huge thing, a lot of issues with PIs, DWIs, and things like that. They raised the ticket price enough where a lot of those people were not participating anymore. We've talked about doing that for some of our events, but, this will be a little bit more exclusive event, but as we have talked about in the past, we're looking for ways to try to accommodate more of our locals, maybe having a locals-only day for some of these events, for instance. And how that will work, I'm not sure, but we're incorporating quite a few things into this event coming up this year as kind of a test to see if they will work for events in the future. So this has been going on for 34 years. It started a long time ago. Really, the focus of the event when it started was to reinvest those dollars back into market plots. And we've done that. We've invested a lot into the square. From the drainage to the sod to the pavers, just replacing the pavers was $500,000, to rebuilding and repainting all of the pavilions. It looks better than it's ever looked before, and that is not impacted anyone in this room all that much. So again, we're looking to take this event to the next level. Bobby, what is the event up in, is it Colorado?
The Aspen Food and Wine Fest.
What is the entry fee for that event?
$2,500.
$2,500. So 150 is higher, but it's far less than that, and they sell out in fact, they're already sold out. So again, we'll see how this goes. We're hand in hand with the chamber through this event. We're very excited about this. You know, not trying to create an event that is, you know, just trying to drive the revenue numbers as much as we're really trying to introduce people to the wine and culinary experience that you can have in Fredericksburg and Gillespie County. You know, the chamber president, Jim McCool, has started the culinary program at the high school. He's very involved in that. And we're looking for ways to, you know, really try to take that side of the event to the next level. There's a lot of that in this community. There's a lot of that in this county that goes on just right outside our borders that you may or may not know about.
Clinton, in
trying
fact,
to
that
tap into
culinary program you just spoke of, it started with 8 students. It now has 120 students, and it's the most requested program at the high school.
Yep, there you go. So again, trying to capitalize off those things. You know, a lot to come in the future with respect to higher education, in the viticulture, local viticulture program. We have, I don't know, Bobby, if you want to speak about flavory at all, you know, not tonight, or not today, okay. So a lot of possibilities coming up. Yes, ma'am.
I have just kind of an observation. First of all, I think it's great to do new things and innovative. And we need to be a community that reaches out to a wide age range and a wide demographic, and, you know, a little more upscale visitor who's willing to come and do things with a little more class is always welcome. My question or my observation is some hard sells is going to be, if you can't find a way to spread things around town, nobody is going to want market plots tied up for 4 or 5 days. I mean, that's just the ebb and flow of the community, especially with increasing population and housing around the verges. The other thing is so many things here are richly dependent on volunteers. And so if you expect volunteers to come and support, then there needs to be some consideration for the pricing for volunteers. I know some organizations do that and some communities, but that's a really critical factor, I think.
Right, and I think you're exactly right, and I think the idea is to take the pressure off the square for the majority of the event. Once it does transition into a 3 to 5 day event, you might only have one day, a day and a half at market plots.
One of the things we're looking at is reaching out to nonprofits, looking for volunteers, and paying those volunteers for their time as they volunteer at the event, and therefore the money goes back to the nonprofit.
Any other questions? Okay, so real quickly, in regards to Fort Martin Scott, so as y'all recall, the Hammersons were heavily involved in the 175th anniversary. That's generated a lot of new and renewed interest in Fort Martin Scott and trying to come up with a plan to do something with it. So over the past few months, we've been working with the Texas Historical Commission. They are very interested in the site because it's one of the easternmost forts and would be kind of the gateway to the fort system in West Texas. So we've had some very good conversations with them. We're currently developing an operating agreement with the commission that would tentatively having them starting programming this summer. That would include, I think, initially 3 staff members. And then over time, they would develop a lot of interactive exhibits. They also want to look to reconstruct the fort, basically bring it back to the way it was back in the 1850s and 60s when it was in use. A couple other items they've mentioned is they would like to bring at least some of the Texas Longhorn herd here. They're working with the city to try to lease additional area along the water reclamation facility and around the university center. So they would have the frontage along 290 and people would see the Longhorn herd. As part of that, they've also talked about bringing some camels. maybe Dr. Emerson can speak to it, but back in the 1800s, they actually used camels. The Army used camels, so they call it the Camel Corps, and they apparently have some camels that they'd like to bring here. So that would definitely draw some interest, I'm sure. So that will be considered. I believe representatives from the state will be here on May 21st to talk to the council again.
Tell me who the Secretary of War when the camel, no, who the Secretary of War with the camel idea came up. Yes.
There you go. I don't have any prizes to give out, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
It's city property, right?
Yes, sir.
Was there some talk about a visitor center there where, maybe up closer to the road that would, I mean, you're talking about ways to attract visitors, but where do they, get introduced to the whole thing as far as a visitor center?
So not necessarily a visitor center, but trying to, again, reconstruct the fort the way it looked back then. And I know they want to have, right now we do have a semi-gift shop, but, having a facility like a welcome center, I guess you'd call it, not necessarily a visitor center tied to the city, but
no, not tied to the city.
They're all about visibility. And so when people are coming into town, that they see that it's not just some old buildings back off down the hill. They would know for sure this is a fort, and hopefully stop there and take a look. And real quickly, the tennis and pickleball, Clinton touched on a lot of things, but we are working with various groups in town. The city has offered up, we have a 10-acre property along Friendship Lane. We've offered that land for potential development of a facility, so negotiations are still underway. We see that as a similar concept to the soccer facility that's being built. Again, it's on city property. We can offer the real estate and then hopefully work with the group to come in and build it.
Okay, one more question. That is all the work that Eric and Carol did, and that data that's now available. I suppose it can go into a book, but do these people understand how much history is being pulled together and understand that can be a part of this plan, I guess?
That's what they do. So yes, they're very interested in all that information. They've done a lot of research on their end. When they're looking at operating a facility, they go and do a lot of homework. And so there's a full-blown report out there. Dr. Hammerson's reviewed it and has a lot of good information to provide to them.
I've had a chance to talk with both Chris and Shannon, and all the information that was published is in the public domain right now. Hopefully there will be a book. That's my plan. But they're interested in trying to continue to do research and find more information about it, and then to wrap that into the way that'll be presented to visitors that come to town.
And they're also working with the Nimitz Foundation. In fact, that's how the facility will be staffed initially, with staff that's provided through the Nimitz Foundation. All that has to go through the legislature. So again, we have to wait till the next legislative session for them to fully staff it and come up with their, I think they call it an interpretive master plan. So much more to come on that as well. Thank y'all.
All right, staff, anything else to add? Council, Randy, you've been real quiet. All right, Bobby, anything else? Okay, all right. Well, if I could start the mic over here with the former council members, we'll go around the room. Do you have anything? If not?
I have nothing except to say thank you for doing this, Clinton, and thank you for all the staff members being here to inform people.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for being here.
So the utility construction on Friendship Lane is a gas line? Okay, and that's from the new gas company? And what is that gas? What section of town is that?
Friendship Oaks, okay.
I don't have anything, thanks.
Okay, again, if you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to try to answer those or get back with you.
Good morning to all. This is a great forum. Thank you. Renee, LeeAnn.
Yeah, I am concerned about the schedule for the review of the budget, and I wonder if somebody could get a little bit more specific about when the public can be involved and what you're planning to do first off in terms of laying out the groundwork and ground rules for that.
Sure. So we'll have two items on the next council agenda, the first meeting in May 7th. One will be our budget calendar, and we'll go into detail about the different public hearings, the meetings with council, the budget hearings with council, the full development of the budget. So again, it starts in May, it wraps up mid-September, and as you know, if you've gone through that process, I see Deborah here, a couple of others that have been involved in that process. It's open to anyone that wants to listen. We do have a new software system that manages our budget. And we've talked about this year, now that we have a year behind us, opening that up to the public so they can see step by step the development process of the budget. If you have a question about the PD budget, any line item, you can see a lot of that information. So again, we have that in place. We're trying to get that more widespread, trying to be more transparent, invite people to participate in any way that they see fit. But we're just starting that. We'll talk a lot about that next council meeting. You can learn all about it then. Does that answer your question? And we have a draft of that right now. And I can tell you one of the things the council would like to do this year is have fewer meetings, budget meetings, council meetings. So we're going to develop a lot of the budget at the staff level before we present anything to the council. But again, that will all be wide open.
And aren't all the budget meetings, all the budget hearings have always been open to the public?
They've always been all open.
So they've always been open. People they can sit there, they can listen to all the boring stuff that the council has to go through.
I can tell you in the past
in ad infinitum.
In the past decade, and I can remember, one of the public hearings that we had on the adoption of the tax rate years ago. Several years in a row, we didn't have anyone there. Several years, we had one, maybe two people in the room. So again, if you're interested in that type of thing, you can reach out to me. I can get you in touch with our finance department. Feel free to talk to city council, show up to those public hearings. There's no secrets there. It's all completely wide open. So I will say on the financial side, I do give an update every month to the council, a financial update. We talk about what our revenues are doing on the sales tax side. We talk about water revenues, electric revenues. We show where our expenses are to date compared to last year. And again, a lot of this information comes out of this software where you can go and compare where we are this year compared to the last 10 years. We're trying to get to that point. So again, more than ever, it's very transparent, and we're trying to build on that every single year.
So if you have, in my opinion, if you have an issue that you really think needs to be funded by the city council, like pickleball courts or tennis courts, what you need to do is go to budget meetings, and then you need to lobby your councilman, because all that's based upon what tax rate is adopted. And if you don't have a tax rate, if you don't have the money, you can't buy things. And the tax rate determines how much money you have.
I could stand here for half the day and talk about just the ad valorem tax rate and how we look at that, what that means to the budget, the limitations the Texas legislature has placed on cities with respect to increasing the ad valorem tax rate. It's a very complex thing. But at the same time, it's a very small part of our overall budget. When it comes down to it, in the end, we're talking about a tax rate that the difference between half a cent or a cent is really 1% of our overall budget. It's very small, but very impactful at the same time.
So I'll give a quick update. So Tom mentioned the construction down Friendship Lane. That is a gas line. They tapped into the Kinder Morgan pipeline south of the Pedernales River on 87 South. Brought that line all the way up 87 South to Friendship Lane, Washington Street intersection. Now they're going down Friendship Lane and will tie into the Friendship Oaks development there at the intersection of Creek and Friendship Lane. The other project that you might be seeing a lot of is the fiber optic line that's being constructed right now along Adams Street. I think they're currently working around the HEB area. That project started on West Live Oak, just west of the Post Oak Live Oak intersection, went down West Live Oak, or is going to go down West Live Oak, goes to the Adams Live Oak intersection, and then goes back towards Main along Adams Street. So that's not a city project, that's a fiber optics project. Yes, sir. The green towers, similar to the AT&T towers that were put on Main Street about 3 years ago now. The green towers on the side streets and the mid blocks, Austin and San Antonio, and within the mid block between Austin, San Antonio, and Maine, those are Verizon 5G towers. So there's a lot fewer of those than the AT&T. I think there's a total of 4 of the green towers. They have a 5th site, but we haven't seen the permits for the 5th site.
Okay, I'm Hugh Reeves. I live in the historic district on the 100 block of East Schubert. Now that the city has purchased from the Hill Country University Center Foundation the building, we have heard that there's a possibility that City Hall will be relocating to the University Center. Is there any truth to that at all? And if so, is there a timeline?
So the city has not purchased the University Center.
Okay. The receipt indicates differently.
We have talked about doing that, though. Yes, sir. And there's a lot more to come on that if that ever does come to fruition. But the city has not purchased that building.
Okay.
We own the land that it sits on.
Yes, you've always owned the land.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Dana Rowan, I know there were some questions about monitoring water. Just to elucidate, or there's a website, Hill Country Underground Water Conservation District. It's the hcuwcd.org. You can find monitoring information there, and also some great geological cross sections. Thank you.
So we ask at the end of this, typically if there is an update this group would like to hear. We might try to get the Underground Water District, the new manager here.
Paul Babb, yes.
Paul Babb for an introduction. Would that be something people would be interested in? I'm seeing people raised, yeah. So we might try to do that the next couple of months, get him here. Thank you for that.
I yield my time.
All right. Thank you. And thank you for all your parking management suggestions. Okay, well, I think that's it. Again, any topics that anyone is interested in hearing us report on at this meeting next time. I'll tell you one of the things that we're doing with our new Public Information Officer, Sean Dory, is putting together a schedule for staff, different department directors to present at coffee, all that's going on in their department, whether it's the health department, we've heard from the police department, fire EMS, others. So expect that you'll continue to hear from a lot of different departments trying to give you the latest information on what's going on around town. But if there's any special requests, I also want to talk to Sean about maybe circulating that question out on social media so that we can get that input. Since we've been airing this on Fbg.Live, we see a lot of people. In fact, I don't know if we know how many people are tuned in right now watching. Yeah, so, so there's 30 people in the room and 7 million watching. I think we're exaggerating that just a little bit, but there are a lot of people watching. There are a lot of people watching online, drinking their own coffee at the house. They don't have to get out of their pajamas, right? So, but there are also a lot of people that that watch this after the fact. So again, for those that are watching, if you have any special requests, send those through the city channels, and we'll try to get those updates during this meeting.
I was going to ask you about a topic. I'm not really sure how you'd go about doing it, but the medical services side of things. I mean, we've heard a report about the hospital, but there's new facilities going in, and what's the current projection for availability of medical services?
Okay.
So for instance, I think one thing, the hospital has gone down in its ability to have an OB doctor available, and there's the new surgery clinic going in, or whatever you call it, and just things that are maybe even outside of what the hospital control is, and it affects the whole medical situation for us older folks.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. We'll try to work on that, George. And again, those are under construction. I don't know if we can get that right now, but we'll definitely get that on the list. Okay. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for publishing the dates of the upcoming. Thank you for publishing the dates of the upcoming coffees with you. Thank you.
Again, I'm going to thank Sean
Yeah,
and Leslie.
I'll just mention May 15th is the next one, so if y'all have friends that want to come, there should be a couple copies on the table of the schedule. If you don't have one, I have extra copies in the back for the rest of the dates for 2024.
Okay, very good. Thank you for being here this morning.
Very nice. John Palacio, used to be the city manager of Mason.
The community in Fredericksburg is growing, and we know that people choose to live here, and for very good reason. It's important that we have resources in place so that people can take care of themselves, so that our economy can keep moving, so that this community can continue to thrive. And this is our opportunity to help them stay well and stay part of the community as contributing members.
Please join us in keeping Fredericksburg and Gillespie County special. Be Texas friendly. Share the road. Put litter in its place. Respect private property. And protect our dark skies. Thank you for caring about our community.